Hey guys, welcome back to this channel. And for today's video, we're going to make another crud full stack using Flash Python as backend, React with RTK query as frontend. So let's get started. For our demo, I'll be using this XAMPP, and currently I'm using version 8.2.4. Also, I'm using Python with a version of 3.12.0. So make sure you have installed Python on your local directory to make it work. Alright? So let's start with the class. For those who are not familiar with class is similar to any web development that you know with Python. So it is more popular to the earliest day, but until now, still one of the best uh, mini framework for Python. Now, if you're familiar with Django, similar to Plus, this use the Python technology. So if you happens to check these documents, you will see that Class is one of the best way in learning web development with Python. So maybe in a future demo, I'll be discuss more about Class. But for now, I'll be using this as our backend. So let's start. So let's minimize this one and let's create a new folder and going to name this as FullStack root. Okay, so similar goes. Let's create two more folders inside this folder, and we're going to name this as API as our backend and APP as our frontend. Okay, so just the typical thing that we use during our previous demo. Okay, so since we'll be focusing on the backend, so we can skip all of this thing and we're going to focus on the API. So I'm going to close this one and we're going to focus only on the API. All right, so let's start from here. As part of the requirements, we're going to create a virtual environment to encapsulate all the packages just for Python only. So this applies to all Python. So for this demo, let's begin by opening a terminal. And then from here, let's type Python -m env and the name of the folder by typing env. So that's our environment and hit enter. All right. So to activate this one, we need to type dot backslash env, which is the name of the environment, and the location, which is the scripts backslash activate dot ps1. So let's hit enter, and there you go. So take note, you should be working under your environment. So anything from here, it will going to store only in this environment only. All right, so let's work on that. So let's begin by creating a new file, and we're going to name this as app.py. Okay, so before we proceed with the coding, let me discuss the database that we're going to use. For our demo, I'll be using PHP MySql. Okay, so we'll be using this PHP MyAdmin. And right now, we don't have the database yet. So to work with our code, we're going to create a new database here. So similar to what we did from the earlier example, I'm going to stick by using this MyDB as our default database. Okay, so from here, we're going to create a migration file that will automatically create those tables within this database. Now, to make it work, we're going to need a package. By searching this one, the plus migrate. Okay, so this first link here. Okay, so we're going to create using this example. So safe to say, we can copy this one and paste that in here. So notice here, we have some or three of the requirements here. The first one is the plus, second one is the SQL alchemy, and the next one is the migrate. So let's begin first with the plus migrate. So since we're already here, we can copy this one and then hit enter. All right. So next, as part of the requirements, we're going to install Flask as well. We can copy this one and then let's uh, better to clear everything from here. And then, okay, so let's install this one by typing pip install plus. There you go. And the last one, we're going to install this SQL Alchemy. There you go. All right, so that's the only package for now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create the schema or the table that that will be reflected or will be migrated later on. As you recall, whenever we started this demo from our previous video is we usually create the table using the migration file. So same goes using Plus. We're going to do the same. So let's work on that. All right, so let's start modifying this code. But first, since we're using MySql, we're going to install another package. And I'm going to install this package named MySql. Okay, so since we're using now the MySql, so we're going to install these packages by hitting enter. There you go. So this will help us to connect with our MySql. So now let's modify this line here. And let's begin by typing MySql plus MySQL. Okay, so that's the format. And then with a colon of forward slash. So from here, we're going to insert the requirements, which is the root for the username. Then for the password, since we don't have any password, I just leave it as is, just like that. And then I'm going to state the localhost and then the name of the database, which is the forward slash MyDB. Okay, so that's the first one. Okay, so next, I'm going to add this configuration, add config. So what we need now here is the, want to copy this SQL Alchemy. So from here, I'm going to add this struct modifications. And we're going to set this to a rather false. Okay, so that's all we need for our MySQL. So take note the format, only these two things. Now next, let's modify now our schema. Okay, so from here, I'm going to name this as movies, and then we can copy this one. So for the ID, we'll just leave the ID. So from here, let's replace this by title column and description. Now for the title, I'm going to set this to 100. While this one, I'm going to set this to 200. All right. So next, uh, let's head back to our plus migrate. And then there's a step here. So we'll proceed to this one. The first one is the class db init. Okay, so what it does is it's going to initialize our database. Oh, so okay. So from here, let's set this one. This should be my SQL. Okay, so let's save that. Now let's do this again. There you go. So that's the first one. So right now, notice here, we have now the bycatch and the migrations. For now, we don't have yet the migrations. So let's proceed on the next step. Okay, so let's copy this one. Okay, so this is the next step. Now, what it does is it will create a migration file. Okay, so anything from the text here, you can change. So by typing this one, then hit enter. There you go. Now, under the migrations, check the versions. And from here, you will notice there's a script here that says upgrade and downgrade. So if upgrade here is the creation, while the downgrade here is reverse move. So anything that you want to modify, you simply do the upgrade. Now, if there's something wrong, you can do the downgrade. Now, let's proceed on the next step. So, see here, we have this plus db upgrade. By tapping this one, we're going to state that we're going to execute this code here. Okay, so let's clear this up. Then hit enter. There you go. Now to check this one, step over to your database. And from here, click this database. There you go. Right? So that's all we need for our migration file. So from here, we can start working now with the rest of the code. So let's proceed to that. So let's minimize this one. All right, so we're done with the migration. Now, at this point here, so let's complete the code. So from here, let's close first the section here by assigning this heap name. equals to main, this one. So we're going to set the mean, then let's call now the app.run or run, and then let's set the debug to true. And then from here, let's initialize the value. So this value will be assigned to all the requests. So for this to be available, we need to assign the definition for this one, then init. So by calling self, and the field required, which is the title, description, and then we need our self, let's assign that title, also to self dot description, right? So from here, let's create our first route, and we're going to name this app dot routes or route, and for our first route, I want to name this as slash all movies. And the method for this one, I want to set this as method get, right? So from here, let's assign a function by calling definition for depth all movie, right? So from here, we want to assign a try and a catch. So in Python, they use this except. Okay, so for the except, let's call this exception as error, and then we're going to return. So from here, we're going to assign a JSONify. So this will convert our string to JSON. So but first we need to add that in our class. Okay. So for our JSONify, let's assign that by calling a message equals to, error 4, and then we're going to assign the request to 404, right? So that's the first one. Next, as part of the requirements, we're going to install another package. So head over to your terminal and type the following: by typing pip install flash marshmallow. Okay, so what it does is this will beautify our display or output when using REST API. So basically, what it does is to in Python or in Plus, the normal preview don't have the fields or the columns included. So in using this Flash Marshmallow, this will arrange the preview by calling all those objects and convert to JSON display. So for better understanding, let's complete this process by importing this package in our code. So what are the things needed here? So just simple, just adding the from plus marshmallow. Okay. So from here, let's import marshmallow. Oops. Right. So marshmallow. Okay. So basically, that's all we need for the import. And then let's configure now our classes or our model. So head down to our classes. For these classes, we're going to add a new classes for this one. And to call that, let's call class and let's call our model. This time, we're going to name this as schema. Okay, before we're going to continue with this schema here, let's add first our marshmallow to our variable by adding or declaring MA equals to marshmallow, and then let's assign the APP, right? So from here, we can use now our declaration by calling MA that schema. Okay, so this will be our reference. And then from here, let's call the class meta. So for us to know the output, we're going to set here the fields, and then we're going to assign the fields. So take note, we only have 3 fields for this one. The first one is the ID, next one is the title, the third one is the description. All right. So that's the few things from our schema. So that's how we map our marshmallow to our existing models. Now on the next process, we're going to assign that to a variable, and we're going to assign that only these 2 things. So first, I'm going to name these variables as movie schema, and then let's map with the models, which is the movie schema. Okay, so maybe we should make it consistent. Okay, I think that's okay. So using this one, okay, that's for our movie schema. Next, I'm going to also make another variables. This time, I'm going to set that to movies schema. And let's call this or assign this movie schema. Okay, so this one will accept a multiple value. So let's assign the many equals to true. All right. So how to use this one? Now, if you see, this is the format that we're going to use. Now, let's apply that in our routes. So first, head back to our routes. And from here, we're going to assign a variable named all movies. And then going to call our schema, which is the movies. And then we're going to get all the values by calling query.all. Okay, so that's how you call all those values. So from here, I'm going to assign that values to a result. And then this time, we're going to call the movies schema. This is the all values. Okay, so using this one, okay, we're going to call the property dump. And then let's assign the all movies. Okay, so this will return those value. And then from here, I'm going to assign that or return that value using JSONify. Now, this could be, okay, let me check first. Okay, so this could be used using JSONify. Also, you can also use the JSONify built into the schema. So just for this demo, I'll be using this JSONify, and then I'm going to assign this result within this result here or value here. And then I'm going to display the status as 2000. All right, so that's all for our get all. Okay, so now let's try running this one. Okay, so a while ago I already exit the execution. So make sure when you head back, you're on the virtual environment. So I'm going to go back to the virtual environment by typing this one, right? So within this environment, so a while ago, okay, so a while ago, I think I installed it in the wrong place. So this is the difference. So when we install the package, I installed it outside. So it should be inside. So let's install that once more, the marshmallow. Now, but first, I want to uninstall first the one that I installed outside the environment. So to exit here, just type the activate. There you go. So now, if you recall, I misinstalled that outside. So I want to uninstall that. Okay. So very careful not to install this outside. There you go. So which means this is very important when running a Python. So earlier, I just deactivate this one. So right now that we already uninstalled that in the outside environment, so let's install that back again by activating the environment, right? So let's clear this up. So we make sure you're in this environment. So now, going to install back again the Flash Marshmallow. Sometimes it's a little bit confused. Now to verify if you install everything, you can type this one by typing python-m fps. You will see if what are the installation within your environment. Okay, so this is how we're going to check which package that's already installed. Right, so everything is in place. So our marshmallow is already here. Okay, and also the rest of these stuff that inside this environment. Okay, so let's clear that now. All right. So now let's run our code by typing py app.py. Okay, so that's how you code or execute the newest Python. But first, make sure you already save everything from here. Okay, and then let's try by hitting enter. Oh, okay, so we have an error on line 23. Okay, so what did we miss? Oh yeah, so we're going to set the colon. Okay, so we need to terminate that. So I guess no more. So let's save that again. So now let's try one more. Oh, there's unexpected. Oh, that's weird. Okay, so let me review first everything from here. Oh yeah, so it should not be here. It should be here. Okay, so this is line 23. Okay, so let's try it one more time. Okay, so we have one more on line 40. Okay, also here, you need to emphasize the colon. Right, so hopefully no more. Okay, so one more. Okay, so we have one more at line 48. We have a colon here. Indent. An indent does as much of the outer indentation level. Okay, so this is one thing very common to Python is the indentation. So make sure you indent properly or else you're going to have a bunch of error. So this is unlike from any code that you're working on. So whenever there's a process, make sure you indent those things. Okay, so hopefully no more error here. So let's try one more. Okay, so we have another error here. So let's review this one. Okay, so it seems like the method get. So there's an error here. Line 30. So let's step over to line 38. Okay, so up routes, all movies. Okay, this should be methods. Okay, so this should be methods. So let's try one more. There you go. All right, so at this point here, our code is working. So yeah, so that's the hardest part. If you're running Python, make sure there's a lot of stuff here, like the indentation, those terminator, like this colon here. So those are the things you need to consider. So now, let's try this one. So open your Thunder client and let's proceed with the get. Okay, so the difference here is by default, our Plus is using port 5000. So we can copy this one, right? And then let's get these routes. This one, right? So using that one. So let's move this a little closer. So now let's try if that works by clicking send. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so we have an error. It says that not found. So I wonder why. So get all movies. Message error. Okay, so let's review this section here. Okay, so definitely this is a method get. All right, so I think I know the problem. So it seems that I stopped my database. So I need to run the database again. Earlier, because I reboot my system, so I failed to start this MySql. Okay, so now it's all on. So let's try this one more time by clicking this one. There you go. Okay, so let's copy this one and see how does it views on our browser. Okay, so basically that's how it views in this section. Okay, so next, now that we managed to set up our first routes, so this time let's move now on the insert routes. So let's move to that. Okay, so from here, safe to say we can copy these routes. And then let's paste that down here. So this time, I'm going to name this as movie at, and the methods are going to use the posts. Okay, so what are the things changes in here is better to clear this up. Okay, since we're dealing with requests, we'll be needing this library as well. So from here, next to JSONify, let's add one more. This time, let's call the requests. Okay, so going to copy that one. And then from here, okay, so what are the things needed here? So first, I'm going to assign a variable named title, and then I'm going to assign a request. So from our request, I'm going to call the property JSON, and then I'm going to get that value, which is the title. The same goes, I'm going to copy this one as well. And this time, I'm going to call also the description. Then let's replace that in here. So these are the parameters or value that we're going to get from our request. Now, by using or converting that to JSON, it will extract the value. Now, next, this time, we're going to assign that to a variable. And that variable is movie. And then let's call our schema, which is the movies. And then we're going to assign this value, which is the title, and this description. Okay. Now, aside from this one, we're going to use the DB session. And let's call the process add. So, and also from here, let's bring our movie variable. Okay. So this will serve as the operation. And then let's call again the DB session. This time, we're going to commit that value. Using this one, this will save our entry to our movies schema. So next, once saved, let's return a value by calling this one the movie schema. Okay, so the singular, no S. And then let's call the property JSONify. And then from here, let's add this variable movie in here. Then let's assign that to our status 200. Okay, so now, okay, so there's an error here. So let's rerun this one. Okay, so there, yeah. So since we're using function for this one, let's update this function. And I'm going to name this as movie add. All right. So make sure they're not the same. So this is movie add for this one. And the other one is all movies. All right. So I guess everything is okay now. So let's clear this up. And then let's rerun our code by typing py app.py. All right. So there's no error anymore. So let's apply that to our under client. Going to apply this on my old example. Okay. So here. So a while ago, I already test this one. So let's use this one. Okay, so I'm going to insert this sample entry. And then, okay, so make sure you copy the correct routes, which is from here, this one, movie app. Okay, so let's try this one. Okay, let's move this a little closer. Now, to apply this one, let's click send. There you go. All right, so this one's already here. So let's check our browser and reload this page. There you go. So let's add one more. Okay, so let's save this one. Should be Netflix. Okay, so let's try this one. There you go. All right, so that works. So next, let's work now on the update. So let's work on that. All right, so for our updates, safe to say, we can copy this one and place that next to that section. And then for our routes, let's name that as movie update. Now, for our methods, we're going to change that to put. Now, there's a few things here that I want to add. Now, since we're doing a update, I'm going to pass these parameters which is the ID. Okay, and then from here, let's change this to update. I think I want to standardize this. So here, going to increase or make it this movie ad with a big A and this one. Okay, so that's much presentable. Okay, now going back here. So next, what we're going to do is I'm going to insert a variable named movie, and then I'm going to search our value, which is the ID within our schema. So that is the movies. Going to query that. Okay, so I'm going to pass the variable ID, which is from this section. And then, so same goes, I'm going to keep this to request session, this one. And then instead of this thing here, I'm going to apply that to our movie. For our movie, let's map that by mapping to a title, which is the title. And then from here, let's call our movie again and map that to our description with the description. All right. Now this time, we will be needing this add session. So we can remove this one. Simply, what we need now is this commit. All right. So that's what we need. So basically, what we do is we're searching the value from here. Once found, it will be mapped to this section here. So this will map those columns. And then we're going to apply this commit session. Now to return that value, we're going to maintain or use this section here to return our edited value. Okay, so let's save that. Okay, and then let's head back to our, okay. So let's head over to our Thunder client, and I'm going to use the put. Okay, for the put session, I already have my prepared value here. So, but first, let's review one more. So right now, we're using this routes slash movie update. Okay, so this is the one. So using these routes, we're going to assign the ID. Now let's refresh this one. Okay, so I'm going to pick this ID 1. I'm going to change, or rather the first one is the 0. Then I'm going to change everything from here. So I'm going to pick the ID 0. Yep, so this is, oh sorry, not 0, should be 1, this one. Okay, so this should be 1. And then for the value, I'm going to change this as avatar movie in 2024. Okay, so let's try this one by clicking send. Okay. Movie update can unexpected keyword ID. Okay, so let's head back to our code. Yes. Since we're passing an ID, okay, so we need to copy this one and pass that to our function. Okay, so let's save that. So since we're assigning a value outside, which is this routes, now it should require to pass the value within the function. So let's try this once more. There you go. Now let's head over to our browser and refresh this one. All right. As you can see, that works. Okay, good. So this time, let's move now to the delete request. So let's work on that. Okay, so let's head back to our code. Now, safe to say, we can copy this one and apply that on the next position or setup here. Okay, so just down below. And then this time, I'm going to change the route, which is the delete. And this time, our methods is delete. Okay, and then for our function, I'm going to revise this one or change this to delete as well. And then let's keep the ID. Now, what are the things needed here? So basically, it will be needed is search query, but we're going to remove this section here. Okay. Now, since we're doing a deletion, we're going to call a session. This time, let's apply the delete. Okay. And then let's pass now our variable. Okay. So just for the return statement, I just return back the process, this variable here. So I'm going to return that as our return value. So now, so basically, that's all we need for our delete. So let's head back again. Better to, uh, okay, I'm going to add maybe 5 of these so that we have a lot of records to delete. So let's head back to our post and then let's add other stuff from here. So any value is okay. So let's send that. Oh, so, okay, so what's the problem? Response, post, okay, so let's review first. Why is it this one has an error? Or maybe it's already add. So let's reload this page. There you go. Okay, so this one's okay. So let's display on the result. So another one, we're going to add another one here. So just any value, as long that we have some entries. Okay, so let's reload. Here you go. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So one more. All right. So let's refresh that. There you go. All right. So we have now at least 5 records here. So now let's test the process. So this time I'm going to call the delete. So the delete request. Okay, by heading over to our under client. Okay. Okay, good. So right now I'm going to use the URL, which is this request. So if you recall, we're using this one. This is our routes, the movie delete. So we're going to use that. Now let's pick an ID. I'm going to delete this ID 5. There you go. All right, that works. So I'm going to delete one more, which is the ID 4. There you go. At this point here, everything is workable. So that's it, guys. Okay, so let's head back to our code. All right, so that's everything on our backend. All right. So at this point here, our backend is ready. On the next video, we're going to work on the APP, which is the front end. On that part, we'll be using React with RTK query. So stay tuned.